I'm just gonna make sure he's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I could get. I'll get her up. Where is he? Okay, I'm gonna call him. Call Dave.
Calling Dave. Tank 8 voice.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hold on.
Dave, are you okay? It's 10 minutes to 12. You usually wake half an hour ago. But you're okay? Okay, should I get...
Boy, I'm messing up today, aren't I? Whoops. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing here. Okay. Hello, Kim. Can everybody hear me? I look like I am... Oh my gosh. Okay, great. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Kim. Hello, Soteri. First of all, it looks like I am spinning, or am I? And can you hear me okay? And can you see you? Okay, you can hear and see me. Okay, good. Hopefully you can see everything on here. On my one computer, it is spinning. So if this one's okay, then I'll just go ahead and chit-chat here a bit. I'm trying to keep an eye on two things because, as usual, I have had another update on my computer, and it is really messing with my brain. And okay, great. Okay, now I need to figure out where I am. Now it's saying, oh, okay. I might just have to, okay, I'm gonna just keep an eye on a few things. This is just messing me up here, so my old computer is, yeah, it's showing 4 squares. That's good. Good, that's what I wanted, because just before the live, when I came on, I had scheduled everything, and then I went to open up my one program here, and I had to download everything. And it's like, I'm not a computer expert here, so yes, okay. Well, maybe the other one, I'll just have to keep an eye on everything and try and watch the chat from up there. Okay, so enough of that. Oh, I was winding a bobbin, so just give me a second here. I just don't want to lose this, so I'm just going to wind my bobbin here and finish that, and then we'll get on to what I'm playing with today. Obviously. Okay, Kim, that sounds good. We have had good weather here. Relatively good. It hasn't been snowing anymore. Okay, I can just stop that bobbin, and then I'll just rethread my sewing machine here. Sorry about that. Everything seems to go wrong as soon as you start a live. My sewing machine camera is not hooked up yet. I haven't turned it on yet because it does overheat. So I'll turn that on when I go to do some sewing. So all I'm doing today is just binding some what I've been working on lately is trying to get some things quilted up and everything. I go to a craft sale in November every year, and I sell some of the things I make. So I've been trying to get some UFOs done, and I have been quilting. And the other thing I've been doing is trying to train my trying to train my my bird that my daughter got me. He's coming along. It's slow. He's still so scared of everything. So I think the home he came from was he wasn't sort of treated very well. So I'm trying to get him to calm down a bit. And so chat amongst yourselves. And one thing I do want to announce too is that next week is my birthday. So you'll probably see me popping on live. Hello, Gladys. Thank you for coming. Thanks, everyone. Okay. So I'm going to be popping on live because I have, over the last year, I have been keeping an update on anyone who comments in my live and keeping a list. And November the 4th is my birthday, so that's a Tuesday. And I am going to be doing a giveaway, and it will be from a list of, hello, Katie. Thanks for coming all the way from Greenland. Anyway, I will be doing a giveaway, and it'll come from the list of everybody who has commented over the past year, I guess, on my live videos, and it'll be a pop-up or a random number picker. So I've got a list of everybody's name that's commented in my live videos, and it's Monday, Shirley? I thought Tuesday was the 4th. Just hang on. Maybe it is Monday. Good grief, I forget my birthday. Well, that's October. Oh, where am I going here? November the 4th is a Monday. Oh my goodness, okay. Thank you. Thank you. That sounds better. Now it's telling me I'm live on my channel. Yes, I know. Okay, now let's get rid of this so now I know what day my birthday is. That's awful, isn't it? I thought it was Tuesday. Okay. So anyway, I'm binding today. And I have my binding ready. And I'm just going to see if this setup here that I have is working. So here is my binding. And when I make my binding, I do it at 2.5 inches. And instead of pressing it flat down, what I do is I just glue with the seam-align glue. The seam-align glue, and I just glue it along the cut edges, and I don't press the folded edge of my binding. So that's all ready to go, and I do have some Wonder Clips on my binding, and I've just rolled it up. And the reason I put those is that's where my joins are. I didn't know you had a channel. Katie? Yeah. I think you've commented before, Katie. I'm sure you have. Anyway, so that's the binding ready to go. And, pardon me. And then over here, just give me a second here. Okay, over here is my cutting table. I know that the lighting isn't all that great. I'll have to work on that sometime when I get around to it. But this is the cutting table. I've already cut the batting on the on 3 edges, and this one short edge is the last is the last one I'm going to trim. And my outside border here, hopefully you can still hear me, my outside border, I always cut my borders and everything a little bit larger so I can trim down before I put my binding on. And I'm just lining up my big long ruler along the edge, and I have a small amount to cut off. And the reason I add the extra on is so that when I quilt it, that I can get an even binding. If it shrinks a little bit, I can cut my borders to a certain size. So I'm just going to use my long ruler here and line it up, and I'm going to be using the line on my the edge of the oh, you know that thing. Anyway, the edge of my placemat. It's not a placemat, it's a table runner. Oh, now, here we go. Looking for my rotary cutter. Okay, so I'm lining up 2 1/4 inches on the edge of my border, and I'm just lining it all the way up, and I'm just lining up this line on my ruler, and I'll just trim this off. And hopefully I can keep that straight. I'm going to put my weight on, and then we'll go back to the other cameras and see if they're still working right. Okay, I got to stand up for this. Okay. So that's ready to put my binding on. Now something else I do that I'm not sure if anybody else does it, but I have found that, let me just go back to the desk here. Okay, yeah, oh, I lose lots of things beside words. What I do at the corners, I don't do it all the way along, and I have used spray adhesive, temporary adhesive to hold my binding layers together. But at the corners, what I do is I take the seam align glue and I glue my corners so that the batting and everything stays together, because when I'm putting the binding on and I sew off here, it just keeps it nice and straight for me. So I'm just going to check this one, and I'm just going to use my glue, and I find the glue just holds those corners together so I don't make a mess if it's not sealed with the basting spray. That keeps it down in those corners, and my corners don't flip up. And I'll just glue that down. And I machine bind, and I like to have my, that didn't look like it's sealed down there very good. I guess it is. Okay. I guess that's okay. Now, on the back, me and freezer paper. My voice is cracking. I'm going to put my binding on the wrong side of the table runner. And before I did anything, I marked where I'm going to start my binding because I didn't want the joins, which are indicated by my little clip here. I didn't want my binding to end up, the joins in my binding to end up at the corners. So that's the only reason I did that. I could have put a pin in and poked myself, but I just thought, oh, I can just use freezer paper, and then I won't poke myself. Okay, so I'm just going to start putting this on, and I'm going to, what am I going to do? Oh, let's see. Okay, we're going to start right here. So I can take that off, and then I'm going to go about 12 inches or so. Just use this to measure, about 12 inches down. And that's where I'm going to start my, binding there. Now, some people, they do theirs maybe a little bit different, but I always check to make sure that my binding, when I put it on, I think a lot of people will do 1/4 of an inch and then fold it over to the right side and stitch down on the right side. But I have found that that leaves a bit of a gap. I want my binding to go over the edge of my, over the edges and be nice and tight. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I always do a sample to start out with. So I'm going to set my machine up, and I'll go back to the 4 cameras, hopefully. Yep, there we are. And I'll turn my sewing machine camera on. And I'm going to put this under the sewing machine. Could have picked a better one to do this on, but I've got just the same binding. I'm going to line my presser foot up, and I'm using a clear open toe presser foot. And I'm just going to pop this down where I want to start. And I've got the edge of my presser foot just on the edge of the fabric. And I am going to move my needle over. And which way? Nope, I want to go the other way. I want to go about one little, I've moved my needle over about one little notch. And I'm just going to set my stitch length to be long. And I'm just going to run a bit of stitching along there. And that should be good enough. And I'll just clip my threads there. Yeah, and like I said, 1/4 of an inch to me just doesn't, well, it seems like it's a little shy of what I want. So now I'm going to take this to the desk, and I'm going to fold this over, and then I'll fold it to the finished position, and I want this to be fairly tight. And as long as I'm covering my stitches, because I sew from the right side, but I want that binding to be nice and tight. I don't want any looseness here. The back will be a little smaller than the front. So that's all I'm going to do there. So I know that that's set up. So now I can set up my machine to do the regular stitch, and we can start just sewing that binding on. So what's everybody doing? Everybody getting ready for the Halloween? Oh, Kim says, whoa, we just got to notice that Kansas City is in a risk area for tornadoes. The fun is just beginning. Oh, so stay safe, please. Hi, Tracy. Iron Stitches. Glad you could make it. Okay. What is everybody up to? Getting ready for their Halloween? Halloween? I live in a condo, so I don't get any kids. Okay, machine set up for the right stitch length. I know that that's right, so I'm just going to do a back stitch and then come forward. I'm just going to stitch down. Sorry, the camera's shaking a bit. I really should have rethought this and put on a different color binding, but it's what I had. Here's my join right here. So that I know is not going to interfere with my edge. And my one camera over there is not where it needs to be, so just give me a second. Just going to try and move it so that you can maybe see a little bit more. Now, which way do I need to go? Whoop. Hang on, everyone. Okay. Maybe that's a little bit better. At least you can see my sewing machine from the other side. Okay, there we go. Oh yes, and now my binding is all rolling onto the floor. And I am just putting a little bit of tension on this top binding here. So is everybody working on things that they're getting ready for Christmas? And oh great, Kim, I'm glad you're safe inside. And I'm just going to grab the end here so it doesn't go off the table. And I'm coming up to the end here, right here. And my sewing machine table slopes down right here. So I have to go a little bit further. And when I come up to the corner, I'm just going to take my ruler. And this ruler has a 45 diagonal lines on it. And I am going to put that right on the cut edge of my table mat, my table runner. And I'm going to just leave this down here, and I'm going to line this line up with the edge of the fabric on the table runner. And I am going to use a white marking pen and just mark. Oh, Gladys says she had to take her dog to the vet yesterday. He has a gastric ulcer, and he's now on meds. Oh, my goodness. And Tracy says, at the moment, I'm busy altering some primitive sheep that my friend bought for her shop. We didn't like the way they were made. The legs pointed the wrong way. Yes, and Gladys, I hope your fur baby is doing well. I know you also have a cat, so now I'm just going to mark along that diagonal. And by marking that, I can see the white line. You probably may not be able to. But by doing that, no matter what width my seam allowance is, if I come to that diagonal line, I know that it's going to be exactly where I need to turn and stitch off. And so when I come to that point, then I'm just going to turn, and underneath I can see the point. Let me just see if I can just, there. I'm going to stitch off, and underneath I can see the point where I need to be stitching off. I'm just going to stitch off the end, and I don't back stitch. I'll just trim those threads. And now I'm going to go back to the desk here. And trying to keep an eye on chat and everything. Okay, so now I need to move my cutting board out of the way. So now I can see my 45-degree line there. And so I'm going to fold this back. And I'm going to make sure that that's pressed nice and flat, keeping a straight edge right here. And I am going to press that. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. He is moving around. Gladys is saying he's moving around, not eating his dog food yet. I give him a small treat, hope it stays down. Yeah, I know I have tummy problems, and I know what it's like, so I would imagine the fur baby is not able to tell you what's wrong or where they're hurting, so. Okay, so now I want to, once I've got it going in this direction, I'm just going to use a piece of template plastic and line that up with the cut edge of the, and just bring it back down. That just allows me to keep everything lined up, and I'll just slide that out. So if you're lurking in the background, just remember to make a comment, just say hi or whatever, because I will be taking the names, the list of names from this live and putting them into the spreadsheet I have for the giveaway. And it is open to everyone. And Tracy said, did the vet say that you could try some boiled chicken and rice? That's an idea, because I know rice is something that is easy to digest. Pardon me. Okay, we'll go back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to just line up that edge, my presser foot along there. I'm going to start in a bit and back stitch and then come forward. And I don't need to sew right off the end. I can now just come forward as long as I've caught that diagonal area right in that spot right there. Oh my goodness, $186 for the vet bill. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can understand that vet bills are expensive. Hey, Lisa. Yeah, that's okay. You're a professional lurker, so am I. Yeah, Lisa, I am a perfectionist. I'm not perfect, but I try to be as accurate as I can. I know the things I do, some people say, well, that's just a waste of time, but I'm not young anymore, and I will do anything I can to make things easier for me. And Tracy said, just plain with no seasoning, it helps to build strength, and it is usually something they like enough to eat when feeling bad. And Gladys says he drank some water today. Oh. And, oh. And Sebastian was to the vet yesterday as well. Oh, puppies. That's sad. So, Terry, I'm so sorry about that, too. Terry's vet bill was $483. Yeah, want to trade? Yeah. Oh, the storms. Kim says the storms are moving up from Oklahoma into southeastern Kansas. Oh. It's been a bad... Oh, yes, my bobbin is running out. It's been a bad year for storms. I'm in Canada, and part of the province or part of Canada that I live in, we get tornadoes, and we can get bad hail and everything, and we can get blizzards. Oh, Terry. His arthritis is bad. Oh, he can't wag his tail. Oh. Hugs to all who are puppies or pets going through things. I'm going to keep going until my bobbin runs out. It keeps telling me it's running out, but it'll eventually run out, or it stops me every time to remind me, and I'll ignore it, and then I'll run out of bobbin. and be angry. Lorraine Young, hello, how are you? Nice to have you pop in. Still got bobbin? Yep. I can finish this off. And I'm coming up to that corner again, so I'm going to make sure everything is laying straight here. And oh, Kim says her apartment is halfway below ground, and according to the fire marshal, the safest one here. Oh. And Terry says, Gladys, I mix the Pedialyte into his food so he has no choice but to drink it. That's a good idea. Okay, so I'm coming up to that where the corner is, so I'm going to take my ruler again, line up the 45-degree line, and make sure it's nice and straight here. And use my white marker again. And this is on the wrong side, so if this marker doesn't come out, there's no problem. So I'll just stitch up to that 45-degree mark there, and when I get right on that line, I'll just twist and stitch right off the end. So Terry says, Kim Burrs, that's good. My niece is in Ohio and have underground as well. They had a tornado about a month ago and it hit the cars in her parking lot, but she was safe. Yeah, I would imagine being in a underground parking would be safe. Yeah. I live on the main floor of my condo building, and I have underground parking. I guess if we did have a tornado, I would probably head for the underground parking, or I think maybe I'd head for the bathtub. I don't know. I don't know where I'd go. I'm going to press that down. I have been in a tornado, but it was not as severe. We got some. It took fence and plunked it in the middle of my garden, 12 feet of fence, and yet the kids' garden tools were not moved. Plastic garden tools, and they'd never moved. Okay, I'm just lining that up at the edge there. Put a wonder clip in there just so I can finish that up. Now I'm going to, is that camera not working over there? Oh no, I'm on the wrong one. Oh, nothing's working on there. Okay, back. Do another side. Do my back stitch. Then come forward. Oh, I forgot to check my bobbin. And I think, no, I'll keep going. I'll run out of bobbin. No point in taking it out and wasting that thread that's in there. Okay, we still got some thread on cheapers. Still going. Guess I should keep talking, shouldn't I? Oops. Hopefully my sewing machine isn't too loud. And I'd like to thank Gladys, the Confident Quilter, and Kim Burris for being moderators for my channel. And I know they can't always be here. And that's fine too. Not everyone has to be here. I'm sure there's lots of people who are more interesting than I am. Still going strong with the bobbin thread. And Gladys, the Confident Quilter, she is going to be going live 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I really can't tell you the exact time because she's in Texas and I'm in Canada, and I still haven't figured out the time zones, so. She can share her channel and anyone else's she likes to share if she would like to. Lisa, Awkward Quilter, Georgia, she has a channel. Kathy's Quilts and Crafts, we know her, and she has a channel. Whoops, and I forgot to mark my 45-degree line. Well, let's see how good I can get here. And my presser foot's going to be in the way, but we'll do it. It's too busy babbling. 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for Gladys, okay? And apparently, from what I understand, with my lurking that I do, what she's going to be doing is a secret. So don't anybody tell if they know. There you go, Gladys. That's Gladys's channel there. So if you haven't checked her out, go ahead and check her out. And I still... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, look at that. Bobbin chicken. That's what I got left. Little tiny piece. I'll just switch out my bobbin before I go and do the rest of it. Whoop, whoop. Why did that go down? I don't know. Bring up my bobbin thread there, and we're back in business. Okay, so back to the desk, and I've only got, what, one more corner after this one. Lisa's channel, thank you for sharing, Gladys. I appreciate that. And remember, anybody who's lurking, please say hello or whatever.
It's 3 o'clock.
Oh, yes, and it's 3 o'clock. Thank you. My computer, I still haven't been able to turn off that lovely lady who keeps telling me on the hour what time it is. Okay, I'll just press that. Kathy's channel. And now what was I saying? I can't remember. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Okay. Pop in and say hi. And you can leave then. It doesn't matter. You'll be entered into the giveaway. It'll be a gift certificate. Actually, I think there'll be a couple of them. And Lorraine says, hi, Kathy. Hi, Kim. Hi, Gladys. She's driving home and listening. Great. So Terry, yes, so Terry has a channel. I don't always comment, and I know that's bad. But I do watch. And I missed, today's Wednesday. I missed Eric Oda last night. I fell asleep. And I have to go and watch the replay. Eric does a lot of fun things. And I see a lot of you over there too. And I am no Tiffany, let me tell you. So and that's what's wrong. I forgot to adjust my speed. How many of you hand bind? Oh. So Terry says Marie's Scrap Creation goes live every Wednesday at noon. No more switching times. Oh, yeah, because she used to come on early in the morning. And the early morning ones, I don't usually catch them because I'm not a real morning person. It takes me a while to get moving in the morning. And I do spend time I do spend a lot of time now with my bird. Isn't that awful? Instead of the cat lady, I'm the bird lady. Yeah, actually, Terry, I was going to show how I put my seams together, and I use glue and pin through my cutting mat, or my cutting mat. That's not a cutting mat. That's a pressing mat. I'm getting quite nasty myself. Terry says she enjoyed making that snowflake block, but when she put it together, it didn't come out as crisp as yours. I will get better at it. My seams weren't... my seams, when I started putting things together like that, they didn't come out either, Terry. It just, I've made enough mistakes now that I know what I'm doing wrong, and I can try and correct it. And it all has to do with glue. Okay, I'm marking my last corner. Yeah, like a lot of things I do too are, I have like challenges with, I've got trigger finger in my left hand, and it's all the things that you do to make it easier. And first time I tried it, you know, it was frustrating that things didn't line up, and then the more I did it, the more I learned what I was doing wrong. And it's all some things work for some people, and some things work different for different people. And I have spent a lot of hours watching YouTube and trying things. Yes, it takes a lot of time, and sometimes it doesn't turn out right the first time, but I'll try it again. And I take everybody's suggestions and try it, and eventually I'll, you know, get it to where I'm happy with the results. It's not perfect, but it's what I can accept, being a perfectionist. I can show you lots of mistakes in my things I make. It's not how perfect you make it, it's how you can make it look perfect. Okay. And now I've come to the end here where I need to put those together. And here is my mark here where I measured. Let's get rid of this clip and just trim up some of these threads. And Terry says, all of my pieces were perfect. When I put it together, it was a different story. Yeah, that's true. Mine weren't perfect the first time I did it either, so let's take that off of there and just put a clip around there just so I know where I'm going to stop. And hi, Brenda. Brenda Foley is here. Nice to see you, Brenda. I guess I should I guess I should say something instead of nice to see you, because I can't see you. I can see your name, but nice to have you join. I'm going to leave myself lots of room here, so I have lots of room to maneuver. And remember, I glued my binding along the edge here. Just glued it along the cut edge so I don't have to try and hold everything in one place with my hands. And we'll do a back stitch there, and now we will. Thank you, Brenda. I'll go back through and clip my threads. And this is the part that I am not in love with, or I never used to be, but since I have been binding constantly for the last, about the last 2 weeks, I've been straight line quilting and binding, and I'm getting better at remembering how it's supposed to be done. I know how to do it, it's just I keep forgetting which way it's supposed to be, so hopefully I can manage to do how I do it and remember what I did. I'll get all those out of the way. Okay, where did I start? Ugh. Okay, so I'm going to lay this out, and I'm just going to, the binding is stretching just a little bit, so I know that I can cut this and give it a little bit of a stretch. This one isn't stretching. Okay, so now I have seen a lot of videos where they say to take this one and that one and do this and leave a quarter or a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch in between, but for myself I found that laying it out and picking a spot in the center, and I'll fold this back and just give it a little bit of a tug. Then I'm just gonna press a crease in there. And I'm going to cut that off just with my scissors. Let me just see if I can't okay, so I pressed that crease in there, and I'm just going to cut that. And a lot of people say measure and measure, but what I do is I just, where I can't see underneath there, so I'm just going to, again, here we go with the freezer paper. The edge of that freezer paper, or that edge of, yeah, the edge of the freezer paper, I'm going to press it down. Whoa. And that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to press the freezer paper on the wrong side of the iron. Let's try this again. Okay, so that's my cut edge. So now I'll move this over, lay everything flat, And then there I know from there I need 2.5 inches from there. So my 2.5 inch ruler, or the ruler I use for 2.5, is right here, and 2.5 right there. Whoops, nope, it's over here. So I'm just going to take and fold that back. And give that a press. And double check. Make sure with my other ruler. And 2.5. So I know that fold line that I pressed in there is right. So I'll just cut it off there. Okay. Now, because I glued my cut edges together, and I didn't press down on the fold, like that's still not pressed down. I don't press a crease in there. So now I'm just going to open this up and open this one up. I can take that off there now. I don't need that. So there I have my 2 ends. So I'm going to take this and just fold it. That's going to make it easier, and I'll put a clip in there just to hold it. Okay, so now I have my 2 ends together. And what I do is I know they're cut to the right length, so I'm going to open this one up and put it like that. And this is the only way I can keep it straight in my head, is if I fold this up, the left one goes up, and the right one goes up, and now the right one will go right sides together over top like that. Now I could put a pin in it, and I could do lots of things to hold it in there so that I can sew a straight line on the diagonal and it should come out right. But that's what our glue is for. Put a drop of glue. You can't see where I'm putting a drop of glue just at the top there. And I'm going to put one here. And I'm going to put one here, just at the top there. And I'll put one down on the corner here. And that's just to hold it into place so that when I take it to the sewing machine, I can stitch my diagonal. Just set that with the iron so that it bonds everything together. And I just do that because it just stops it from coming apart and everything. Now again, Shirley with the freezer paper. Now I need to turn this, and I need a line to do my diagonal from this point down to this point. And nope, that's not big enough. This is a scrap. I'm going to line up a piece of freezer paper right at that tip there and right at this tip here. And I'm going to press that down. There's a couple of reasons I do this, and one of them is the glue it gives a little bit of stability to that join. And now this I can see it's not quite where I want it to be, so I'm going to release that. And we'll do this over. By gluing it, if I don't have things lined up properly to put this piece on, it just stays in that position, and then I don't get myself mixed up. And that looks good, so I can see my freezer paper is right at that edge right there where I need it to be, and it's right at the edge here. And now I can take that to the sewing machine. Yeah, Shirley with the freezer paper. Yeah, I know. Good name for a channel, yeah. So, I'm going to be stitching right up against the edge of that freezer paper. I think freezer paper is the thing that I most like the best in my sewing room because it helps me in so many ways. That gives stability. Also, I can set my needle up right at the point here and then stitch a couple of stitches and then do a back stitch. And I found by using this on there and using the glue, I don't get, the needle doesn't push the fabric down into the needle plate hole. And so now all I have to do is take that to the sewing machine, and I'm going to just shorten my stitch length along there just a tiny little bit. And I am going to switch to the sewing machine. Okay, so now this is underneath there. And I know I want to start stitching right at this point right here. So I'm going to put my needle down, and then I'm going to line up the freezer paper right against my needle and the point, the tip of that fabric. And I'm going to start stitching. Do a couple of back stitch, not right at the edge. And of course, we have an emergency in the sewing machine. Don't fret. It's just a, okay, I won't. My phone overheated, so I don't know whether you can see me. Okay. Anyway, my phone has a habit of doing that, so. Anyway, I am stitching down to the other end, and I'll show you. I should have turned it off. I'm not back stitching right at the end, and I know you can't see this, but I'm not back stitching right at the edge. I'm back stitching before the edge, and then sewing off. If I could figure out how to, what am I looking for? My thread snips. If I could figure out how to get my other phone hooked up to work with the sewing machine one camera, I would, but I don't know. I just haven't had the time to do that. Yes, and Shirley is a freezer paper freak. Okay, so what I've done, and I think we'll go to the desk here. Can maybe see it a little bit better. I have stitched right along the edge of that freezer paper. So now I can just pull this off. And because I've used the glue, I need to release the glue. And why do I do it like this? Well, because I used to get areas where my edges didn't line up quite right. And it always seemed to be a little bit wonky on this edge right here. If one of them, if I wasn't stitching properly. But I find that I get more accurate stitching. So now I just have to double check now and make sure that I've done it right. And there it is. And it's not twisted or anything, so I know at this point I can trim that seam allowance. And I'm just going to eyeball it 1/4 of an inch. And I'll press that seam open. Okay, so I'm going to press that seam open. My pokey tool. And again, because I've glued that, I need to release the glue so the seam lays open and nice and flat. Now I'll just see if I can't get this to lay flat enough. I'll lay it on here. Got some stray threads there. Okay. Everything's laying nice and flat, so I can just give it a press with the iron. And my edges are nice and smooth, except for this one right here. There's a little bit of the dog ear hanging off there, so I'm just gonna give that a quick little clip. And I find that I get almost perfect edges along there, and one's not bigger than the other. Now we're just going to use the little old glue, seam-align glue, just to hold those two pieces together. Line up those cut edges of the binding. And just give it a press down, just to line up the cut edges of the binding so I don't have to try to control three layers of fabric at one point. Okay, so I'll just take that back to the sewing machine and I will stitch that up. And I apologize. Where are we? Okay. I apologize that my phone camera is giving that warning. Oh, I don't want that short of a stitch length. Okay. My needle position is still in the position I wanted. And now I can just finish stitching that down. So what's everybody else up to today? Besides weather and puppies? I am going to be going through and measuring all the table runners, like the ones I have in the back there, and measuring them and putting the fiber content on the label, just on a sticky label that I can put on that will come off, just so that people know what my projects are made of. Okay, come to the end. I am going to be working also on another FPP block, and I'm going to be doing it in a 12-inch. And again, it will be PDF stitching templates and fabric cutting templates. And Kim says she's dealing with bronchitis, staying quiet so I don't cough so much. Oh, yes. I don't know whether it's this time of year or whatever that colds seem to be something that you can get quite easily this time of year. I don't know whether it's maybe more people are out or... But yeah, bronchitis isn't good. Okay, so now I am just finger pressing this, and at my corners, see if I can just go back to that and show you really, okay, there we are. So I'm not zoomed in real good, but my corners, the way I do those is I give them a nice press out and let this point come to a V, or come to a point, and it's sort of like a V. And without pressing on the edges, I'll take the tip of my iron and just push it in there. And that should give me a nice point. I really should have put a different color binding on this, and then you would have been able to see it better. That's okay. I'll just do another video on binding. And use a different color. So now I can take this and push it back in. Oh yeah, you can't see that. Can't see how nice it looks. Okay, now I'll do that on all four corners. So push it, even if you have to use like a ruler and push it. And that's just going to give you a nice point. Push it in with your ruler. Let it come to a nice V point there, and then press in. And at the same time, giving those edges a quick press down. I think I could use some steam now on that. Remember, anybody lurking in the background, be sure to just pop in and say hi to have your name entered into the drawing. And it's just anybody on the live. I will be doing another live before Monday. But just remember, pop in, say hi, and your name will be entered. Open. Oh, Terry's making some, just making some orphan blocks. I have a lot of those too. I usually don't show them though, because I think there's quite a few of them. So I'm just pressing the binding over, and I'm trying not to press on the folded edge of the binding. I find I get a much better, just a much better look and everything when it's not really pressed down the first time. I will press it down after I get it all sewed down, or stitched down. And I am using steam. And I will show you on a sample on one of my table runners what they look like when it's a different color and what I try to achieve. And I managed to be able to get pretty reasonable looking sewing machine binding. And Kim says, when I sorted fabric, I found a bunch of orphan blocks. I think I have enough for a lap-size quilt. Awesome. I always thought quilts had to be, you know, kind of matchy-matchy, but I found out I've got a bunch of orphan blocks that I made, and they are, they might look good together in a quilt. I get bored, though, if I have to do something repetitive. And Tim says, Kim, I have enough for a few twin-size quilts. I just like some blocks, so I make them and put them in the pile. Everything can't be a quilt. No. And Terry says, some blocks can become totes or runners or placements. Yes. And that's like this one that I have. Give me a second here. This one that I have, I thought, oh, I could make that into just a little candle mat or something. So that's what I might do with that. That was my test block that I did there. Okay, now we go on to the next step, which is folding everything to the folding everything to the right side. So I'm going to turn this. Now here's where I use pins. And I fold this over to the right side, and I'm pulling and having it come over, covering that stitching, and then I'm going to put a pin in and a pin in here, and you're not going to be able to see this. Oh, this was just a... And I'm putting it just at the edge here, and I'll just grab a... which one can I show you on? Here. This one. This will show you. I know you can't see me. Group. Okay, and we want a desk. Okay, so now this one, I put black binding on it, and I used black thread here in the top thread, and on the back I used a color that matched the back. And now my camera should be for the sewing machine, and I'll show you up close if I can get this. So you can't see my stitching. Which one can I show you? But you can't see. Oh yes, you can. Now if I hold it up really close, you can see where my stitching is right along the edge there. And that color that matches, the background doesn't go on the black. And it's like that all the way across. And so when I put my pins in, I put them in, I'll just show you. Oh, okay. So when I put my pins in, this is the right side. So I put my pin in like this. Right, just a little tiny bit in from the edge, and then when I bring it back up, I bring it back up where my stitching line, where I think my stitching line should be. And when I look on this side, you can see where my pin is, and that's where my stitching is. So hopefully that. Oh, nice. Hi, Lori. Nice to see you. Lori Clark. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'll just turn this back now. Okay, where'd we go? Yes, welcome, Lori Clark. Now, just a minute here. I lost something when I clicked on there. We'll get back there. Okay, there we are. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm pulling it tightly over and putting my pins in. And I'm using just glass head pins. Now I could, okay, I can see my pin there, and it's on the edge of the binding. I don't glue it down because when I'm sewing my binding down, I like to be able to maneuver it. And why I pin it is oh no, Kim says they just issued a tornado watch for us. The sky is getting darker, wind picking up. Well, as long as it's just a watch and not a warning. It may miss you. Now, when I'm putting my pins in, the tip of my pin is poking out. And what I do is, so that I don't poke myself, I will bury the head of that pin, the sharp point, in the binding itself, and so it's not sticking out. And I can run my hand along and I don't get poked. So I'm coming to the corner. And again, here's where I use glue. I'm going to tightly pull this over. So it's covering my stitching, and I will give it a good pull. And I'm going to use the glue and just run a bead of glue just along the edge of that stitching. Pull it over, and I can actually feel underneath where the edge is. And I will be using a pokey tool or a stylus or whatever you want to call it. And that's what I use to line things up. So I'll put my pin in and make sure that it's not coming out on the binding itself. fabric's a little bit stiffer than the other ones. So now I'm just going to work that in with my fingers. Whoa! I just got glue or hit my iron on my I hit my iron on my turn that off, on my plastic little thread thing that I hold my thread, so now I've got plastic stuck on the bottom of my iron. Well, isn't that wonderful? See what I did? I melted it. It's off my iron now because it's plastic in it. Oh, I still see some shiny there. Oh, I don't want that on there, so I'm just going to use this little knife to take that off. And then I'm going to use, oh, I guess I should have glass everything and then I don't melt things. I don't know what I did with my, oh, here it is. Okay. Just going to use my cloth here. And we're going to run my iron on it. Oh, connection lost. Oh, that's my mouse. Okay. Just gonna iron that off on there so it doesn't get on my table runner. And yes, I know you're connected. Anybody have any questions or anything? And my glue dried, so I have to do it again, or just re-wet it. Let's just add a little bit of water here. And hopefully that'll keep it down. And I'll do all the four corners like that. And at the corner I'm making a nice fold there. And now at the corner I'm going to put a pin straight down where my stitching is going to be. And it is in a place where it's not coming through on the top of my binding, and that's how I know I'm getting it in the right place. So I'll stick a pin in there. Whenever you're pinning, I like to put things straight up and down, because if you turn the pin and try to put it in that way, what happens is that you distort the fabric. And Kim says, truthfully, storms don't bother me like they used to. I actually like watching them. Don't mind the thunder and rain. I know who's in control. Yeah, that's true. So I'm just going to put a binding clip on this edge right here. And I am going to try to do this. It'll be the first time for me. I'm going to try and do it without pinning and see how I can get it. I am going to just do my corners because I find I can't get a nice 45-degree angle unless I do a bit of pinning. That looks good. And again, if you want to, you can glue it down. Usually I will glue. It just helps me. But we're going to see if I can do it without pinning and gluing. just like Tiffany. And just another couple corners here, and you will have to pull tight if you've done a sort of a very scant seam allowance, because your seam allowance is what determines the width of your binding. So let us just see. Yeah, this one is not going to be very bright, or you won't be able to see it as well, but at least you get the idea of what I'm doing. And do I need one more? Sometimes I do things the hard way and then practice and see if I can do them the easier way. Just maneuvering those points in. Sometimes you have to be a little bit brutal, but fabric is quite forgiving. And I'll check with my pin, putting it straight in. Check on this side, and just need to do a little adjustment there. We haven't talked about food yet. Normally the conversation goes to food, or maybe we did. I'm not sure. I am having tonight for dinner, I am having meatballs with macaroni and cheese, green beans. I'll probably have a yogurt, and then a dish of chocolate ice cream. No, a dish of vanilla ice cream with chocolate syrup. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see if we can do this without all that pinning. I usually do pinning. I'll pin and watch YouTube. And then when I go to the sewing machine, I just remove the pins. So now another wonder clip. And I think, yep, got all my corners done. So now, hopefully, my sewing machine there we go. Now I'm going to put my stitch length at 2.5, and I'm going to put my needle in the center position. And when I'm quilting, I bring my bottom thread up, and I bring it, cheapers, Julie, use the right mouse. There we go. Anyway, I don't do tie-offs or back stitches. I usually just tie off. So now I'm positioning this underneath, and hopefully you can see it. I'm going to put my needle down. And I'm just going to fold my binding over. And my fingernail, Kim says, I put chicken breast, cream of mushroom soup, and some potatoes in the crock pot. It was delicious. Oh, that sounds good. Ooh. Okay, so right here, I can feel, you can't see it, and it's hard for me to see the edge of the binding. But when I put my pokey tool right in line with the needle, I can feel there is a bump right there, and that's where I want to stitch. So I am going to just start stitching and keep folding over, and using my pokey tool, I'm just going to keep that in line with my needle. And I'm using the open toe foot, so I'm using the open toe foot so I can see and hold my pokey tool right up against that needle, and I'm not watching the needle, I'm watching the pokey tool. And by watching the pokey tool, I can, oops, and I missed that. I couldn't see that. I just need to pull that out. Not sure I'm going to be able to do this without pinning. My hands just don't want to work. If I pin it, I can do it. Okay, I think I'm just going to have to pin this. Otherwise, I'm going to be ripping out stitches. Okay. Oh, Terry doesn't eat meat. Oh, okay. Yeah, my hands just won't allow me to do it without pinning. And because the binding and everything is the same color as the outside border, that it's hard for me to see under the sewing machine. So is anybody on tonight? Any other YouTubers that we should be watching? Oh my goodness. You know, so Terry, you're a pescatarian. Okay. Yep. I love fish, but I do like a good steak or pork chop. That's my downfall. But actually my favorite is lobster. So yeah, this is going to just take me a bit, but I can't control it. My fingers just aren't working to do it without pinning. That's what happens when you get to be a certain age. But I can feel that. Oh, I gotta turn my sewing machine off. And my eyesight isn't as good as it used to be either. Yeah, I like crab meat too, but I find really tires me out trying to dig out all the meat out of the shells. That's my problem. I eat faster than I can take the meat out. But oh yeah, I could eat an awful lot of lobster.
It's 4 o'clock.
Oh, thank you. Again, if you've been in my other lives, my computer keeps telling me what time it is on the hour. So, oh, Kathy's favorite. Terry likes, yeah, shellfish. Kathy likes steak and lobster with a baked potato and a salad. Oh, yeah. See those? Oh, yeah. And then Kim says she loves fish dipped in beer batter and deep fried. I got sick the only time I ate lobster, and I can't tolerate salmon. Yeah, I love salmon, but the thing is, I'm not fond of tuna. However, I do like, I like sushi, but not with the raw fish. And I don't think it's really sushi if it's a raw fish, but I think that's something else. I'm not too sure. Anyway, and Sarah says, that's the fun part. I'd starve if I had to pick out all the crab meat. Maybe I should just buy something that has the crab meat already done, taken out. And Kim says, give me catfish, bass, or crappie. I haven't heard of those fish. Ours are mostly salmon. We don't get much fresh tuna here. Salmon, we can get salmon. Scallops, yes. Oh. We get trout and perch, pickerel. There's another one. I can't remember what it is. My grandson loves fishing. And so Terry says, I try not to fry. I like broiled and baked, but fried fish is addicting, so I try not to indulge. Oh, yeah. I love fried fish. With that batter on it. That crust. So Terry says she got food poisoning from a bad scallop. I haven't ever had them after that. That was about 15 years ago. Thought I was going to die. Ooh. And so Terry says, I like to eat crab legs when I go out, which has been much in the past few years. Do you mean hasn't been much in the past few years, or are you always going out for crab? Yeah, oh, you grew up in Colorado. Kim says she grew up in Colorado and ate a huge amount of trout. Oh. Oh, yeah, Terry says she hasn't been out much. Yeah, the last few years, I think there's a lot of us that have opted to stay home or have health issues or like that. Yeah, Terry, I'm a hermit too. That's why I thought if I started a YouTube channel, I'd get to meet people and talk. I think my daughter thought my bird was going to talk. I'm trying to teach him to talk, and then I won't feel so lonely. Lorraine Young says, I love trout. Flounder is good too. Oh, see, and those are fish that I really haven't heard of, or I've heard of them, but we don't. You don't see them in the stores. The only thing I don't like about fish is I know we used to catch fish and then bring them home, clean them, fry them, and eat them, but then there was all those little bones. And oh, what kind of a bird? It's a budgie bird, just a parakeet. He's green, and his name is Rio. My daughter rescued him for me. He was at a home that wasn't all that great. Sorry this has taken me so long, guys. And Lori Clark says, I have left my house every day for the last week, helping a friend move. No stitching for me. I'm a hobby hermit. Ah. And Kim says, bass is a good fish. Delicious. However, it's fixed. Crappie. Oh, crappie is good fried. Catfish is best dipped in batter or breading and fried. Interesting. And so Terry says you have to keep talking to him. I think they say it takes about 6 months. I could be wrong. Yeah, I've had him for about, maybe 6 weeks to 2 months. But he's a very timid bird. And I have got him now, so he'll go on my finger, he'll go on my shoulder, but he's still skittish. But he's not very inquisitive. I've been watching birds on YouTube as well, and trying to figure out, what's best. And they say you have to be quiet around them or whatever. You can't be noisy or whatever. But I tried that, and then one day I just went up to him and I started talking loud, and I was moving my head around and everything, telling him he had to be a good boy and everything. And he just sat there and didn't even try to fly away. And so Terry says they fix the bass. Like neuter it? Oh. Terry, that's funny. And Terry says, be right back. My dog thinks he is stuck in the kitchen. Oh. I used to have a dog. Used to have a cat. Raised a pig. They were gonna, the litter that the sow had when I got my pig, she killed all except one of the little piglets. And they were just, thought, well, they just not going to raise one pig, one little pig. And they were going to knock it on the head and kill it. And I said, no, I'll take it. But I lived in town. I didn't live on a farm. So I had to raise the pig until I could take it out to my uncle's place on the farm. So we raised him in town. And my dog, our dog at the time, mothered the little pig. This takes takes a bit of doing here. How am I doing? You know what I'm going to do? I am going to, because I think I've been on for 2 hours now. I'm sure you're getting sick of listening to me and watching me do this. But again, like I said, my hands just don't want to work. So that's why I pin. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to, yeah, I've still got, well, yeah, I've still got a bit to go on this, so I am going to finish pinning this off camera and come back at, I will probably pop on maybe tomorrow morning sometime. It'll only be a short time just to show you, I'll stitch it down right on camera and show you what it looks like when it's done, because I'm stitching it with yellow thread and you might be able to see it better. What do you say about that, ladies? I think so. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. It's been nice. And now that the weather and the weather here in Canada is getting colder, and we will be coming into the winter now. Usually it stays nice until Halloween, which hopefully it will tomorrow. And then I'll be pretty much stuck in the house and for the winter, so hopefully I can spend some more time online with you people. And yeah, I think I'll finish this off and finish it off camera. My fingers are getting sore, so where am I now? Where am I supposed to be? Okay, there I am. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll finish pinning this, and I'll come back tomorrow sometime, do a quick little video. It won't be a long one, and stitch down this binding just so you can see how I do it. And I promise I'll be back tomorrow. And I think tomorrow is Thursday, so it's I think Kathy has her block, and I think she's doing the churn dash tomorrow, if I'm correct. But so I will say goodbye. Thank you to my moderators for coming and joining me and chatting with me, so I don't go totally stark raving mad. And hopefully you'll come back and see me over the winter time, and I'm going to be doing pop-up lives and everything up until the time of my birthday, and then I'll see if I can't figure out a schedule to go live. But so we'll say goodbye. Enjoy your evening meal, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Couldn't find my buttons.